invest, working with the private sector, working with our great institutions of higher education, so that we can look for ways to make our vehicles more gas efficient, really increase their mileage, where we can get more of our electricity from renewable sources, and then we will put at least 5 million Americans to work, because these jobs have to be done here. They can't be outsourced. If we make a big bet on solar, for example, somebody's got to climb up on those roofs and put in those solar panels. If we make a big bet on wind, we have to manufacture and install those turbines. If we get right about what we need to do with all kinds of biofuels, especially cellulosic and farm waste and other kinds of sources of plant material, then they can be grown right here in North Carolina. They can be processed and sold right here in North Carolina. So I know we're fully capable of it because I see what other countries are doing. Does it make any sense to you that the little island country of Iceland is now energy independent because they were so poor and they were importing all their oil and all their coal, and they said to themselves, we can't keep doing this. We got to figure out what we have. What are our assets that can provide our energy? So what did they do? They tapped in to all the geothermal activity that goes on below the surface. We have a lot of places in America where we could do that. They are now, between geothermal and hydropower, 100% energy independent when it comes to electricity, and they're making a big bet and doing some of the most advanced research in the world in hydrogen to be a basis for fueling our vehicles. Or take Brazil. Brazil decided they did not want to be living and dying by how much oil went to, and today, just as I was getting out of the car, I got an email message. For the first time in history, oil is now over $120 a barrel, and we are over the barrel of the oil-producing countries and companies because we refuse to say we're not going to put up with it. Well, Brazil, they decided to look and see what they made. They grow a lot of sugar cane. They started experimenting 30 years ago. They never gave up. They kept at it. So what do you know? They are now energy independent when it comes to fueling their cars because they can mix enough gasoline with enough ethanol from sugarcane that they don't have to worry about the price being so outrageous. I think we could be equally efficient, equally smart, equally effective. We also need to invest in our infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, our tunnels, and I do believe we should be looking at high-speed rail. There are a lot of places in this country where it would be effective, but particularly along the east and west coast and along some other routes. We need to be looking to expand and complete our broadband infrastructure. Every place in America should be connected up to high-speed internet access because other countries are way ahead of us. And that means in towns just like High Point, you might not be as competitive when it comes to the global information superhighway as you need to be. And we've got to start investing in science and research again. You know, under George Bush, the budgets for the National Institutes of Health and the National Cancer Institute and all the other scientific enterprises of our government have fallen. We are falling behind, and we are on the brink of so many breakthroughs on autism and Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and juvenile diabetes and heart disease and all kinds of cancer. If we start investing again, that's not only going to save lives and alleviate suffering, but it's going to put a lot of people to work because there is much to be done to translate those discoveries into products. And then once we get all these great breakthroughs, let's be sure that every American has access to quality, affordable health care. That is what I have proposed. That is what I will do. I have a plan that is not government medicine, is not government-run medicine, not new bureaucracy. It takes a program that already exists, the plan by which members of Congress and federal employees, about 9 million of them, get their health care. And we're going to open it up to every other American. And we're going to give you the financial support you need to be able to pick among all the choices that are there. And it's going to be health care that covers prevention and mental health. Because we waste money because we will not provide health coverage for preventive services. And we cause untold misery because we won't face up to the fact that mental health care is health care, and people deserve to get the kind of services they need to be taken care of. And we're going to make sure education remains a passport to opportunity. I love what the governor's done in preschool education and pre-kindergarten, and we're going to be a good partner with North Carolina because you deserve to have a president who helps you do this important work because it pays off. You know, a good pre-kindergarten program will help to cut the achievement gap in 50% by the end of high school. That's a good investment. That's the kind of investment the federal government should be making in programs that work, not what they're doing now, which is why I'm going to end No Child Left Behind, because it is not working. It is a one-size-fits-all program that turns our kids into test takers and our teachers into test givers, and I don't think that's the best approach for us to get the kind of educated citizenry and productive workforce that we need in the future. And we're also going to make college affordable. You know, Michael mentioned that. He's 100% right. In this country, we should be investing in our young people, and that means making it possible for them to afford to go to college. The percentage of our young people going to college is dropping because it's so expensive to start. If you actually get started, they raise the costs on you halfway through and you can't go on, or you have to take on so much debt. Well, that's not the way it was when I was going to school. You know, my dad could pay for college, but I had to work to buy everything like a book or anything else I needed. When I went to law school, he couldn't help me, so I kept working. I got a little scholarship, and I borrowed money directly from the federal government at about 2-3% interest. And that's what I want young people today to be able to do, because all across North Carolina, when I ask young folks who are in school now or maybe just got out what interest rate they're paying, I've been shocked. 18, 20, 25, 27% interest. So here's what I would do. Double the college tax credit so you get to keep more of your own money to send your own children to college. Make sure you've got a Pell Grant that has a rising amount to it connected with the rising cost of higher education. And that financial aid form known as FAFSA that families fill out. They get to the end of it and they're told, just kidding, you're not going to get any help. Provide more national service where young people can earn up to $10,000 a year that would go right toward college. Take on the predatory student loan companies and the banks that are charging these outrageous rates of interest. Move back to direct lending. And for those of you with a high rate of interest, we're going to give you an offer. If you're willing to do public service like teaching, nursing, law enforcement, we will forgive your student loans over time, so you'll get yourself out of debt. So these are some of the very specific plans I've put forth. And I think people like to hear what I'm going to do because I want you to hold me accountable. I don't want there to be any guesswork. You know, a lot of good folks voted for President Bush back in 2000 because he told everybody he was something called a compassionate conservative. And that sounded really good, but nobody knew what it meant. And you get into the specifics, which I think, you know, is important in an election. And you figure out, okay, where does this person really stand? Where have they been? What have they done? What are they going to do? And that's what we need, because I think President Bush forgot that he works for the American people. You hire the President of the United States. And we also need to do more around the world to raise our standing and resume our leadership. And that begins by ending the war in Iraq and bringing our troops home as quickly and responsibly as possible. Now, I have said that upon being inaugurated, I would ask the Secretary of Defense and the Joint Chiefs of Staff and my security advisors to give me a plan that would enable me to start bringing our troops home within 60 days. I know this has to be done carefully. It is dangerous withdrawing troops. You have to take our troops and our equipment out the same roads they came in, roads that have been bombed time and time again with those improvised explosive devices and the other, you know, bombs that have been used to kill and maim our young men and women. So this has to be planned carefully. But it's the right thing to do, because the Iraqis have to know they must take responsibility for their own future. They no longer will have a blank check from the United States. They've got to make the decision about what kind of lives they want. You know, I have been endorsed.
You've been listening to Senator Hillary Clinton speaking in High Point, North Carolina, covering a variety of topics, everything from the economy to green investments to education.